is the literary treasure of India. It is one of the longest epic poems in the world and was composed by the sage of Vyasa several thousand years ago. Dhritarashtra, the blind king of Hastinapura, had hundreds of sons, Duryodhana and Dushana being the oldest. They were known as Kauravas. The Kauravas have five cousins, called the Pandavas. They were Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, and the twins called Nakula and Sahadeva. The Kauravas and the Pandavas were brought up together by Bhishma and Drona and were taught the art of warfare and given a good condition. As they grew up, the Yudhana became jealous of the Pandavas' glory. The Pandavas married Draupadi, the daughter of Drupada. This alliance made them powerful, and so the Kauravas were further threatened. Dhritarashtra consulted with the wise men in his court regarding this inheritance and said, I will give half of the kingdom to Kauravas and the other to the Pandavas. The Pandavas named their half Indraprastha and built it into a great city. Soon, Yudhishthira held a Rajasuya Yagna, which attended by many kings and was unanimously accepted as the kings of kings. Duryodhana wanted to fight the Pandavas. His evil uncle Sakuni devised a plan to defeat the Pandavas and to take the Indraprastha from them. He said, invite the Pandavas to a game of dice. I will play and defeat them. So, Duryodhana sent an invitation to Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira accepted the invitation and went to Hastinapura. Shakuni cheated and the Pandavas lost everything from their jewels to their kingdom. Finally, Yudhishthira stalked Draupadi and lost her too. Duryodhana ordered Dushana to bring Draupadi and Dushana drug her out. They insulted Draupadi, but she was saved by the grace of Lord Krishna. Duryodhana said, you have to spend 12 years in the forest, and then one more year without anyone recognizing you. If you are recognized, you have 12 more years of exile. For 12 years, the Pandavas lived happily in the forest. After 12 years were up, their period of hiding had come. They decided to go to Matsya, the kingdom of King Virata. The Pandavas disguised themselves and went to King Virata's court, seeking work in the palace. King Virata employed them. Yudhishthira, who was dressed as a priest, amused him with his wit. Bhima was employed as a cook. Arjuna, who was dressed as a woman, was called Brihaniala and was danced to a princess. Draupadi, who called herself Sarandri, was to be a companion to the queen. And so, the Pandavas took up their jobs in the palace. King Virata's brother-in-law, Kichaka, was a weak man and he was began harassing Draupadi. Draupadi complained about Kichaka to Bhima and who said, I will teach the giant a lesson. I have an idea, listen. And he whispered his plan to Draupadi. Draupadi agreed, and so the next day, when Kichaka usually harassed her, she pretended to relent and said, I will wait for you in the dancing hall tonight. Kichaka was thrilled and said, fantastic, I will come. That evening, Kichaka went to the dancing hall. Bhima, who was hiding there, pounced on him. There was a violent brawl, and Kichaka was killed. The next morning, news of his death spread and reached the Kauravas. Did you hear the news from Matsya? Sakuni asked Duryodhana. Yes, I only a massive warrior like Bhima could have killed Kichaka. Let's attack Matsya from the north. King Trigata can attack it from the south. If Pandavas are hiding there, they will help Bharata, said Duryodhana. Very clever, Duryodhana. They will first out of hiding, and when they are recognized, they will have to get back to the forest, and 12 more years. Brilliant, said Sakuni. Soon, Trigatra attacked Matsya from the south. When Yudhishthira heard of this, he offered his Bhima service to King Virata. The king agreed. The battle was intense and the enemy was defeated. In the meantime, in the capital, Prince Uttara received news of Kaurava's attack from the north. Arjuna dressed and Bharshanala said, "O Prince, in the absence of your father, you must fight the Kauravas." The prince said, "I would go, but I don't have any charioteer." Hearing this, Draupadi said, "Prince Bharshanala is an accomplished charioteer. She will drive the chariot for you." Uttara climbed the tree and found the weapons. He said, "Brihanala, how did you know that they were here?" Arjuna replied, "I knew because I am Arjuna." Soon, Brihanala brought a chariot to the place and the reluctant prince went to war. On seeing the might of the Kaurava army, and he said, "No, I can't fight such great warrior as Bhishma and Drona." Arjuna said, "You cannot turn away from this war. Come with me. I will give you the weapons that belong to Arjuna." He took the Uttara and the tree and he had hidden his weapons. Meanwhile, Uttara returned to the capital victorious. His father was already in the capital and welcomed him with open arms. "Well done, Uttara. I'm so proud of you," he said. Uttara said, "Father, it is Arjuna who won the battle. We know him as Brihanala." Now, the king knew that his priest and cook were also the Pandavas and said, "Forgive me if I was ever offensive to you, princess." Meanwhile, in Hastinapura, the Kauravas were rejoicing. "Arjuna have been found. They will have to go back into the exile," said Duryodhana. However, Bhishma said, "No, the day he was discovered, the 13th year of their exile has ended. They will have to give back their kingdom." On hearing this, the Kauravas were very angry and said, "No, we will not give it back." When Yudhishthira heard of the Kauravas' unwillingness to return their kingdom, he said, "Krishna, I don't want a war. Would you please talk to Duryodhana?" Krishna agreed and set out to convince the Kauravas. However, no matter how hard he tried, Duryodhana would not listen to the reason and was determined to fight the Pandavas. So, Krishna returned with the sad news that war was inevitable. In the meantime, in the capital, Prince Uttara received news of Kaurava's attack from the north. Arjuna dressed and Bharshanala said, "O Prince, in the absence of your father, you must fight the Kauravas." Just before the war, Arjuna asked Krishna to support him during the battle. Krishna agreed and became Arjuna's charioteer and gave him army to Duryodhana. Arjuna led the Pandava army into the battleground of the Kurukshetra. He looked at the Kaurava army and said, "Oh, Krishna, how can I fight my own kin? I don't want to kill them for a mere piece of my land." On the 13th day, Arjuna's son Abhimanyu was killed. When the news reached Arjuna, he vowed, "Tomorrow, before sunset, I will kill Jayadratha, the cause of Abhimanyu's death. If I fail, I will eat fire." The Kauravas surrounded Jayadratha from all sides and prevented Arjuna from reaching him. On the 15th day, the Pandavas played another trick to Kauravas. When they were unable to defeat Drona, Bhima shouted, "Ashwatthama is dead." Drona turned to Yudhishthira and asked, "Is my son really dead?" Yudhishthira said, "Ashwatthama has been killed," but he was referring to an elephant named Ashwatthama. Overcome with grief, Drona was soon killed by a soldier. As the war continued, Bhima fought Dushana and killed him. Arjuna fought with her Karna and after a long battle defeated him. Duryodhana was shattered by the news. He jumped into a pool to ease his shame. The Pandavas found him too and said, "Well, Duryodhana, do you accept defeat now?" But Duryodhana said, "No, I will fight you." So, Duryodhana and Bhima fought a duel. While dealing the fatal blow, Bhima said, "Now, I have avenged your insult to Draupadi." They left Duryodhana mortally wounded. Meanwhile, Ashwatthama was plotting to avenge his father's death. He, along with some friends, went to Pandava camp and, mistaking the Pandava sons to be the Pandavas, killed them while they were asleep. The Pandavas had won the war, but there was great sorrow in their camp for having lost their sons. Bhima said, "We have won the war, but what a price we had to pay." Krishna consoled them and said, "Do not grieve over the past, Yudhishthira. Go back to Hastinapura and rule it wisely." So, the Pandavas returned to Hastinapura and ruled it well for many years.